Welcome to another edition of Men on the Rise. Today we're going to have a phenomenal conversation. You have a great guest that we're going to talk some good stuff that's, hey, going to hope inspire you to be great. And so today I have my guy, Jonathan Mayo, in the studio with me. And Jonathan, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm
No
doing great.
doubt, man. Well, we're glad to talk. This is Mr. Black Man Speak.
Yeah.
And I know you want to tell the people a little bit about yourself, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, please.
Hey, how you doing? I just want to say thank you for being on the show. It's a pleasure. I'm gonna say that. So, I'm a man after God's heart, but also I'm an author, podcaster, a father. So, these things that I am, and also I just thank you for the Man on the Rise movement, and I'm loving it, and I'm thank you for it. So yeah.
No doubt, man. Well, I want to talk about your story because we want people to know that hey, you accomplished some great things now, but you also have a journey that you overcame. So I want you to kind of just talk a little bit about some of the journey, some of the things we've had a privilege of talking about in past because it wasn't always easy. Sometimes you may find yourself as being like the underdog, and I want you to kind of help people to see where you've been because some of us can relate to that.
Yeah, coming from single mom background to being in spaces where I had to be the only black man, while also a single mother. I got three sisters. I'm the only male, and I had my father. He was there in and out. Then I had a stepdad, but it was like barely there. So I just had to navigate through being a man and um, even though I was a little boy, so sometimes my mom would put me in situations where I had to step up. And it's like I'm 8, 9 years old, and I'm thinking about I got to pay bills and all this stuff, but I have to go to school and do things the next day. So it's going through that adversity of um, becoming a man now, but also learning the integrity of different things. So I had to get around certain men. Also had to, even though I had to do some stuff myself, did the work myself, and then getting around certain people, places, and things, and just navigating through a space where I have to become something different.
Mm, man, I understand, man. Sometimes, and I don't know about you, but I know we did talk about this at one point in time. Say sometimes you feel that you inadequate, or I may have felt like that. I know that's something I can relate to. Then feel like wasn't well equipped. I feel like I was slow in certain areas, but it's not where you start a lot of times, but you sticking to the journey of life. And sometimes may have been told, by the ones you care for and he's supposed to get the support from, one thing, but they sometimes don't give you that support you feel you need. And sometimes it could be, it can kind of hinder your growth at a certain point in time. So let me just ask you about that because I know we had that type of discussion. I want you to kind of share a little bit with people about where you feel like, some of the support may not always been there,
Yeah.
but I want you to lean into that a little bit, and then let's talk about where did you get that drive to move forward?
I think sometimes I felt like in the spaces of trying to be a man, I felt like I was the only one half the time, especially when I'm dealing with growing up as a single parent home, but also trying to be a man in different spaces of showing up, being what I'm supposed to be. And it was just very tough. But where I got the resilient from is when I started barber school. And I almost gave up. Like I literally almost gave up in school. And at the time I was married at the time, and I was just trying to navigate through. I'm trying to be a husband, trying to go to school, trying to be in church, and I had all these titles, and I almost quit in the middle of school. I told my teacher, I said, "Yeah, I want to give up. I can't do this because I gotta go home. I got need to go work." And he was like, "Nah, you cannot." He told me I couldn't give up and then I listened to Eric Thomas, and I was in the car, I was crying and everything, and I listened to Eric Thomas, and he said, he said, if you're gonna get this far, still continue to get the reward. So it's like, yo, I'm already halfway here, so I need to continue to go.
Man, that's crazy, man. We're gonna lean into this a little bit more, but I want to take from what you just said. You was in leadership. You was doing a lot of things that, like, say, on the outside, look like you winning. Like, say, it may have been that you said you was serving from my understanding, in your church, you served in the community, you was doing a lot of things, but at the same time, you had a lot of weight on you that feel like it was about to break you, right? And so you can't help me to see what that looked like. But even while things may have been going good in this one space, you still had some life going on in this space. And so I
Right.
want you to kind of just lean into that a little bit with me.
Okay, so when it comes to that piece, I remember being in a household with my siblings, my mother and my mom, and in that space, it was more like trying to survive manhood to the point like I'm I gotta love my mom, I gotta love them, but also when it comes to manhood, there was no man there. So I went to my mom. I said, "You cannot." I got to the point like you cannot teach me how to pee if you get what I'm saying. So it's more like, okay, you're my mom, and she's put me in these spaces where I had to step up and be a man, where my dad or my stepdad's supposed to be, but I had to be there for her. So I was more like emotional support or being available for her emotionally and things like that. But also like I'm like I need to go get a job because I need to take care of the family. But I'm barely 8 years old trying to do this.
Mm.
So
Oh man, like I said, I know we both have some things in common. So
yeah,
with some of the things you may have gone through that that kind of had your way of thinking growing up also
mhm,
affected how you even may have thought in your marriage. Like I said, I know
mhm,
we talked about this before. I want to kind of share with the people what we talked about, but
mhm,
just how it had effect on how you operate even in your relationships. So whether it was
even
imagine other relationships, how did that also affect you just on the way you, like I said, you had three sisters. I mean, I had one sister. Imagine me having three
right,
sisters and me.
right,
I could only imagine. I pray for you,
right.
bro. But
So I
just knowing that was your journey, how did
right.
that help or kind of change your viewpoint, even in your relationships
Mhm.
that you had?
I would say how it affect me, how I showed up in relationships. Like I noticed, like it was after therapy how I started to pick women a certain way because of due to my deficit of being grown up with my mom. So basically, the whole time while I was with my mom, I was really not to say that I was her in-house husband the whole time. So for
Mm,
me being her in-house husband, I'm doing everything that a husband's supposed to do, but just not sleep with her. You know what I'm saying? So when it rolled into me being in relationships, and my mom was kind of like emotionally unavailable and all these things. So then when I went to therapy, I started to see my patterns of the type of women I was picking. So I was picking um mostly unavailable women. And then when I got with like my ex-wife and um they was emotionally available. They wasn't doing the things they knew as to becoming a wife. And how it really, really impacted me was like they did I found out they wasn't really supporting me. And I needed like the emotional support when I was in um barber school, or if it's anything that I want to do outside of being a husband, it kind of changed my trajectory of what I need to do. And when it came to the emotional support, even when I was in trying to, when I was in the midst of giving up, she didn't really show up in that manner of giving me a hug, or it was just like, okay, we good, we straight. I'm gonna continue to do what I do. And it was just like, yo, like that was a lot.
mm. Now, I can speak from this standpoint, going through a separation, divorce, and actually it was crazy because during that time, that's why I got connected with Eric Thomas myself. So when I was going
Mhm.
through some struggles, that was a really helping stone through that time. And so I kind of want to dig in that direction because knowing that we had that in common, I know I say no one ever wins when that separation. And so,
Right.
but at the same time, you had some emotional traumas, you had certain things going on in your life. Let's talk about how that was for you. Let's talk about where were you at mentally? How were you dealing through even during that tough time? Like I said, you had a lot of pressures at you.
Right.
Just let me hear how that affected you.
It'll affect me. I really, honestly, I really went to a depression. Um, I had into depression, anxiety because I had anxiety of like, man, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to learn how to be a man. I'm trying to learn how to uh be in this space of marriage too at the same time. And it's like you got to be a husband. Now you got to provide. And then at the time, my ex wife, she was working, and I'm going to school, trying to go full time in school. and it was tough. So it impacted my life. Like you need to get up and do what you gotta do, but I'm doing the best I can at the time. But the emotional support or what I needed at that time, I just need a hug. I just need like it's gonna be okay. You great today. You gonna be good today. And me as being a husband at that time, I was lacking the skills of being a leader in a way too, because I was like, okay, how can I lead? And how can I go this path and still support her? But the lacking part of me when it came to like my mom piece, she did not, I didn't even see her support my stepdad. I didn't see her support my dad. I didn't see her be nurturing, care. I didn't see none of that. So I had to like navigate through that. And then I'm getting with my exes and like, okay, what does that look like? And they fussing, arguing, and different things. It's like, I don't want all that. So I'm running away to get away from there. I'm literally in my car. Like, I want to go inside the house.
No doubt. Well, I know now it got so rough. I know you had to make some transitions in your life. And
Mhm.
during that transition of your life, things transitions outside of
Mhm.
you doing. So I want you to lean into that, man. I know we kind of tore it around the stuff. I want us to dig a little deeper because transparency is no,
Right.
we talked about this stuff before, but I want people to know just how deep it really got. So let's
Okay.
just go a little deeper
Okay.
on how the rock bottom, but now we can build from that rock bottom. So I want you to talk about the rock bottom and
Okay.
then we can talk about the coming up from the rock
Okay.
bottom.
So when I I'm gonna say this, when I went into the depression piece of through the school part, like I was very I was dark. I was suicidal. I had suicide ideation. And I was just like, why am I this low? Am I a bad person? I had to doubt like these thoughts in my head, like you're not good at this. You're you're not who you're supposed to be. So when I went into the depression, it was like I was so heavy, and I mean heavy to the point like I just want to give up on life in general. And I literally was like, yo, I cannot do this. I don't want to do school. I didn't want to do marriage. I didn't want to do nothing at all. I was just literally just sitting there. I stopped going to school for a couple of days too. 'Cause I'm like, I can't do this because it's so heavy. And then I got to the point like, okay, I took a breather and I took one step at a time.
I got you, bro. I got you. But man, I want to now talk about this me in that same space. Like I said, I know, like I said, no one ever wins in a separation of the boys. I had things going good in church and ministry. I had
Mhm.
things going good in the community. And at the same time, I was going through a separation. And so
Right.
I know the juggling of some things. Like I said, you got five
Mhm.
things going good, three things going bad, all at the same time. And you're still trying to make sense of it. And at the same time, you feel not this like you lost a relationship because you when you in a marriage, it's not the same as a girlfriend. You lose that's like losing an arm, right? You lose a part of you when, and that's no one ever really wins in that situation. I don't care how much money, how much uh, material things you got, it's still a loss.
Right.
But through that, the thing for me is I was able to find myself, get a
Right.
chance to learn
Ooh.
not always the things that people was telling me good in the streets. I was able to find out, okay, I have to own this. These are areas I got to step up and become better. And so I was able to identify some of those areas and start working on becoming the man I know I am, that I know I should be across the
You're
board. And so those are the things I had to identify and still work
mhm.
at. And even to this day, I still work towards them because
But you're so
Mhm.
right about that because I remember with my ex, and I was trying to we was working on some things, and I told her I was like, I asked her, I said, "Who are you now?" She was like, "I'm the same person I was when I first met you." And I told her, I said, I literally had to say, I said, I don't want you, but that means I didn't want that type of relationship we had before. And that was like the hardest thing I ever had to do. Is like I can't go back to that. Like I really couldn't go back to that because if I told her, I said, if I get back with you, I would have to fight the old me and to fight the old you, and that's gonna kill me because I'm a new person now, and I would have to, and I have to literally be a new me all over again. I was like,
Mm, yeah. So in where transition the one thing, like I said, it was a great help. Like I said, we had the support. And one thing, I still remember to this day when I first heard of Eric Thomas. I was in the gym
Mhm.
I was listening to Les Brown. My man Mickey said, "Man, I want to introduce you to someone." And he said he
Uh-huh.
put me on my man AT. Bad as you want, bad as you want to breathe. I think it was.
You see, you
And
said the better one, yeah.
yeah, and I listened to that, man. But when I realized, man, what I called great was really at a sea level. And so but I'll kill it. I'm like, nah, bro, you ain't doing that. But for me, help me realize, man, I got more to do. I got work to do. And so from there,
Well,
man, it was a really challenge for me to really start upping my activity and really pressure myself to grow. And it was an ongoing journey. It wasn't
right,
overnight, and it's still an ongoing journey. So, and one thing I did was I said Proverbs 31, and I posted all around the house. I said, in order for me, and at the bottom, I put it in caption, before I can get my Proverbs 31 queen, I first must become a Proverbs 31
well,
king,
yeah,
like a track alike. And so that's the thing I was working on. Not so much going out there casting my rod in the water, but let me become what it is that I want to attract. And so
right.
even with that for you, what is this journey been like since then?
It's it's been challenging, but also good because I really I found me who I'm supposed to be. And I tell you one thing I will give to our black men when it comes to being married, or getting prepared for marriage, just you gotta before you do it, you gotta like we talk about become. You gotta already start becoming a husband. Not saying you have to and know yourself. And then I always say this too: a man has to know his purpose first. That's be when Adam first got started, he knew his purpose. So God said, "Well, you need to name the birds, the trees," and then He said, "Okay, now I need to add you a helpmate now." You know what I'm saying? So I would say like you need to know who you are, what you like, all them things like that. Be by yourself a little bit because even when Adam was doing his thing, he was by himself. So he got to know who he was, what he liked, what he didn't like, and all these things like that. But now you can find who you really want to be in order to find the right mate or helpmate. What you need to do is know who you are and become who you need to be so you can attract that type of woman because not every woman is the same, and the one that you need, she's going to help you get to your purpose and calling. So this same thing tells me you're married, so that means you need a certain type of woman. You can't just have any woman because either she gonna help you or she gonna bring it down.
Man, you said something that really helped me to really understand. It's not what you do, it's who you be.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to do a task. It's one thing that we can do things, but we all have been called to be a thing. Prime example, um, a bird flies. It's a
Mm-hmm.
part of who their nature. They don't have to be taught how. I mean, of course, you know, what I'm saying it made that happen from day one. Like a fish, they swim from day one. They have no choice. If you want to live, you better learn how to swim right off the back. And so that's the same thing. We have to take on that nature of being. Once you identify your being, now you must make sure you align yourself with the mate that aligns where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we may to go out there and look for a beautiful face
Right.
or some nice waist,
Mm-hmm.
and it may not be in alignment of where we're going. And we'll find
Wow.
ourselves in some struggles down the road because we settled for something that wasn't in alignment of where we're going. So I encourage those before you just go out there finding a mate and you hit it spot on. Understand who you are, what you're lining yourself up to become, and who you
Mm-hmm.
are. So
Right.
now you can make sure when you're taking inventory of when you're in the dating courting phase, is this person on the same path or where I'm going? Because you want to after 5-10 years after the
Right.
beauty then wore off, all these things and curves and kind of
Mhm.
changed up a little
Right.
bit. Now you find yourself, what do we else we have in common
Right.
of where
And
we're
you
going? And so
and
I'm
you really
speaking. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead, bro.
And then you really want to like you're in that space of finding a purpose partners. And while you're in your purpose and find now you're learning how to even in our community of black men, black culture, it's more of us. We gotta really learn how to communicate and understand. And then when it comes to, especially when it comes to arguments, disagreements, and conflict, we really have to have these. deeper conversations instead of, oh, I like you, you like me, or what's your favorite color. We can't do that anymore now. That's simple, but now you need to be asking questions. Is what's we need to go to your history, what kind of traumas you have, what kind of can you even show up in this space of loving a husband or a wife? Can you loving your husband, and then can you really communicate? Can you show emotionally available? And you just got to have these deeper conversations to really get to the meat of who the person and core of she is. Because sometimes you have to go to the background of her. Because say if she, because if you look at her mom, her sisters, and all that, and if she was one of the women that that her mom was fussing and fighting and all that stuff, that's what you're gonna get. That's the product, what you're gonna get.
Mm. And you definitely spot on what you're saying. So sometimes, like I say, things you've been exposed to from early on, the way because everybody have. When I say love, it appears differently in people's mind
Uh-huh.
based on what you seeing love is. And so sometimes when we have when we're in a relationship, we may be talking two different languages.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It may not always be the same, but one thing we both have to have in common is deposits.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, and
Yes.
I got to learn what's a deposit for you.
Yeah.
Same as what you got to learn what is a positive for me. I know it's a book called Love Languages, and it talks about that. And one
Right.
of the things is you might have a person who's like touch. A lot of men like to be physical touch and things like that. Some women like gifts. Some people like words or affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So once that person, you identify what that person like, it's up to you to make those type of deposits. And so, but the more you can't just put one out there and expect to make a withdrawal right away. You
Uh-huh.
know what I'm saying? But you got to
Yeah.
continue getting in the habit of trying my best to make deposits. And then
Right.
over time, guess what? It helps build towards that relationship. And something I
Yeah.
had to learn that was
You,
one of the main things that I'm not giving deposit that I think was a report of deposit. Yeah, I pay these bills. That's not a deposit all the time. That's
right.
something you're supposed to do. I
Right.
hate when a guy say it like this. "Yeah, I babysit my kids. Really? How
Right.
you gonna babysit yours? If
Right.
your kids, you ain't babysit. You just take care of your kids. So don't always jump to the habit that because you did a certain things, that's a deposit. But at the same time, you get in the habit of making those deposits and learn how to do that. And that's something I'm currently on. I can't say I
Mhm.
bat 1,000, but that's something I know to do, and that's something I have to grow to do. Making these deposits because guess what? These deposits definitely can lead us to a healthier, more successful marriage. And so I'm
Right.
speaking to myself when I'm telling you, but
And
we all learn together.
I was gonna say this. That I totally agree with you. I was gonna say this most time when it comes to even with the the roles of how we see divorce, whether it's in our culture or the opposite culture, more of what we see is if it's white America per se, but black and white is totally different. So what we're more seeing that we grew up in a of the single parent home, so we already coming in as a deficit. Sometimes you might see the other cultures, you see the family unit, and they're coming together and working together. And like I was talking to somebody before we got up here, I was saying how sometimes we, when it comes to us growing up and we get 18, our parents are already they're already telling us to get out the home already. And in other cultures, it's like, nah, I want you to stay home. I want you to grow, do what you got to do so we can help, so you can be a better person. So also you can be prepared for marriage or situations in life, because especially when you're talking about being in a relationship and most time when you're in a single parent home, you don't see a full relationship. You see half and half. The daddy might be in jail, and we got to kind of navigate through manhood. And then we got to, it depending on the environment, we got to figure out, well, let me be with these men on the corner. Let me be with this guy. He might be a pimp. And now we're finding different avenues of what a manhood should be. And we really don't know until we go through something, probably going to jail. Then we got this aha moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. So definitely, man. So all of this is something that we have those type of discussions in our platforms, right? And so
Yeah.
I know you have a platform where you speaking to black men, and so I want to just kind of ask you though, man, how do you go about? Where did that start from? Where did you come from? An opportunity where you said, "Man, I was lacking in this space. I want to create a safe community where I can talk to men," because that's basically some of the things that I found myself in doing. You know, creating a space where I can work along with guys who have similar goals and similar things that I wish to do. So let me ask you this: where did this come from you wanting to work with and be in that community with other black men?
I'm gonna say what started this community was out of pain, really out of pain of going through my divorces, really, like, because I was like, yo, we as men, we go through stuff, because most of the time when we talk about divorce, we only talk about the woman side of things. We never talk about the men, because when a man gets a divorce, depending on if he's fighting for something, but if he's not fighting on something, he is starting over. I mean, financially, mentally, emotionally, starting over. Like, he got to literally come from the mud and build himself back up to get to where he need to be. And you're not talking about if a man is going to one or two or three divorces. He's starting over every single time. And now it's like, man, I got to keep fighting for this. And I'm even when I go into the relationship, I'm thinking nothing. I'm not thinking divorce. I'm thinking I'm going to stay. But then when I go through it, it's like I'm losing everything, down to the point I might lose my kids over this. I might lose my life over this, because
Mm,
I don't have nothing to hold on to. And I want to hold on to something. And for me, it was very, very hard. Like, I know, especially after my second marriage, I went through a deep, deep depression. Like, I mean, I was small. I was bad off, bro. Like, when I mean bad off, I was so bad to the point I'm like, Lord, you got to take me out. You got to take me. I don't even want to live no more, because I'm at my lowest. I'm rock bottom. But luckily, God, the biggest thing was he wanted me to lean on him the whole time. Even in any relationship, any friendship, it was leaning on him. So I can say, I'm gonna say this, brother, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, literally,
mm,
I am not supposed to be here. I'm a testimony of that. Me as being this black man coming from where I came from, I am not supposed to be here, but luckily God got a hold of me and said, this the reason why I started, because black men need to be celebrated. They need to be inspired to the point, like, if I can get up, if I can do this, come from a deep depression to get to where I'm at now, you can do it too. Like, and especially after a relationship, because we do take it hard too. And
mm,
most people don't look at that side. It's just like, oh, he just get up, do what he do. He just want to do what he want to do. Or most of the time, when the women, they do what they do, and like to start living on their own, and they're not really checking on the man. They thinking like, oh, he just want to do what he want to do. He just going talking to women. No, it ain't that. I got to start over, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
mm. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Sometimes we get a man, sometimes a bum rap. Not saying it always don't deserve it.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
we planted bad seeds, so sometimes we reap that too. But we do want to make sure we're we're in getting a healthy space where
right,
men can get the support they need to
right,
help us grow in our mental state, because
right,
we all go through a lot of life. Never knocking to say how life is not hard for women, 100%.
right,
But
right,
us as men, we deal through some things where we already have to battle uphill too. And so we
right.
got to have support bases where we can be able to get, the charge in order to go out
Right,
here and take the
right,
hill again today,
right,
tomorrow, and keep pressing forward. And so that's
right.
important to know you have communities such as yours and mine, that we can invite men to be a part of some other men that's moving forward. And so I
Yeah,
don't take it lightly, and I don't think that you saw because you want to be around positive men.
yeah.
Because, like I say,
Mhm.
I've seen in my life, you got different groups like AA, NA. You have your
Mhm,
churches, you have your men groups,
mhm.
and I'll encourage anybody, find those positive places that you can be able to link arms with people who have been in the fight, maybe a little longer, some maybe a shorter time. But when you come together, you create synergy, you create help,
Yeah,
able to see each other through the tough time. Because I may be ready to quit today, and you may be
yeah.
ready to quit next week, but
Mhm.
today you ain't quitting. So guess what?
And
You
and
cheer
and
me on
also,
next week,
you're
I'm
right.
cheering you on. But
You're right.
that's the good thing. We're a team working together. So man, if anybody want to connect with you, I want you to give them some information, how to find you and where they can be. And also, we didn't talk about your book. Please give a shout out about your book as well.
Yeah, my book is More Than a Barber, and my tagline for Black Man Speak is at blackmanspeak.com. I mean, Black Man Speak on YouTube, and it's Black Man Speak on Instagram. And it's basically a safe space for men to be able to talk about relationships and mental health, but also um, you can be yourself, like really listen to talking about relationships and different things in that space. But it's like you got it, man. It doesn't matter what it looks like, but you got it. You got it.
No doubt, man. Well, I appreciate it again, Jonathan, man. We're gonna definitely have to chop it up again, man. And definitely hope everybody got some good information, something that bless you, something that can inspire you to go out here and win today because the day matters. Be great.
Be great.